First, we're going to demonstrate the shoulder elevation test with Lauren here. So I'm going to have her lay on her belly. And from here with the shoulder elevation test, we're testing obviously the shoulder flexion. So also primarily involved in that is the lats and the pecs. So for this test, she's going to keep all components of her body touching the ground. So top of her feet, ankles, knees, hips, even the chest, and then we're going to tuck her head so that her chin is basically looks like her chin's on the ground. Her hands are going to be about thumb's length outside of her shoulders, so we don't want to be too wide, or that's going to give us more flexibility through the shoulders and the lats. So we want to make sure we have a thumb's length outside or just outside of the shoulders grip. So if she were lined up directly over her shoulders, that would be here. So I'm going to have her widen thumb's length outside of that, so just slightly outside of her shoulders, a little bit more. Don't think about it too much. And then I want her to keep her wrist nice and neutral. So we don't want to have a break in the wrist when we do this. It's going to give you a couple more inches, or at least an inch more in this test. So from here, I'm going to have her tuck her chin and then elevate that PVC, which is a full stick, as high as you can. And then we're going to test how high up she gets. So she's going anywhere between 10 and, oh, she got it to 11. Okay, so let's test this side as well, just for sake of it. Okay, good. So she got to 11 on the left side as well. So any range between 5.75 to 12 for females there's different rankings within that, but with an 11, she is average for female. And she'd have to get to that 12-inch mark for the good range. One stretch that we can do for flexibility of the lats is called a dolphin pose, so it is a yoga pose. So with the dolphin pose, she's going to keep her forearms on the ground, and we want to get a nice flat back with this, but also she's going to keep her legs really straight, so she's going to get a little stretch through the hamstrings as well. And then with this, try to tuck your head a little bit more. She can dictate how much stretch she's going to get through the hamstrings with this, and as well as up here in the lats. So if she walks her feet further in, hikes those hips towards the sky, she's going to feel it a little bit more. Feel it more?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the dolphin pose. You can do this in a different way. If you're not comfortable with your forearms on the ground, you can keep your arms straight, and this turns into a downward facing dog pose. So either one of those is going to target the lats for flexibility and improving that stretch to hopefully make that test a little better. The next test we have is hip flexion. So I'm going to have you lay supine, so on your back. With hip flexion, I'm going to grab the inclinometer. So with this test, we're testing the flexibility of the hip, but with that meaning our hamstring flexibility. So in our with our hamstring being the antagonist of this stretch, so it's going to lengthen as she pulls her knee into her chest. So in order to get a reading on this, we're going to place, since this is an iPhone, we're going to place this phone in the fulcrum of this particular test is the greater trochanter, so we're going to place that here, and then we're going to go ahead and zero it out to make sure we get an accurate reading. Okay. And then this movement arm is lining up with the midline of the femur, so the lateral midline of the femur. So she's going to keep this leg straight. You're going to bend at the knee here and then pull that into your chest as far as you can. So we're going to follow that femur all the way up, and she's going past 120, but it could just be where I'm holding the phone. The range for this is between 0 and 120, so go ahead and relax. In the past, we've tested this. Usually she hits about 120, so it could be just where I'm holding that phone. So I'm going to test it on her left side as well. So again, placing at the fulcrum, which is the greater trochanter, and then her movement arm being the lateral midline of the femur. So we're zeroing it out, and go ahead and lift. Even more on that side. So go ahead and relax. So again, at the top range, it actually read 134 for the degrees that her hip flexion is. She's super young and very active, so that could also help with that hip flexion. A good stretch for this is called the 4-figure stretch. So in the 4-figure stretch, you can do this laying down on the ground. You can also do it standing, so we'll show you both ways. She's going to bend and cross over whichever leg she intends on stretching first. So she's going to stretch the right hip and hamstring. So basically it fits right into her ankle above the knee. And then she's going to take both hands and create some tension on that muscle by pulling in towards her chest. So again, this is stretching through that right hamstring and glute to lengthen those muscles. And then if she switches legs, she can stretch the other one. Good. Okay, and that's it.